everybody, it's Steve Halpinaker. Welcome to the Oracle of the Self. Today is the discovery session for Exploration 5, which covers the life situation of building relationships that matter. So joining me on today's call are several members of our ChangeWorks community, which you can learn more about on our Patreon page if you're interested. They'll be chiming in, no doubt, with their own little insights and questions, and I hope that makes your understanding of the material we covered today even deeper for you. Today, we will be walking through 12 mission-critical activities that we've chosen for the ChangeWorks self-assessment we put together specifically for this exploration. You can find the link to complete the free profile in the description block right below this video. Do complete the profile as soon as you finish listening to the call so everything's nice and fresh in your mind. You do get your results back immediately, and then on our next call or the next video that you can click on after watching this one, we'll look at the results together, share whatever insights or advice we have for building relationships that really do matter. As always, please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and share the links with everyone you know. We do appreciate your support. So let's dive in. So we put together this activity list that you're looking at right now. And I guess I want to kind of like begin where most of you would be beginning. Underneath that video, you're going to find a link that looks like this one down here. And if you wanted to, you could open up that link right now. And then as we're working our way through the activity list, you can actually fill it out as we go along and, kind of kill two birds with one stone. You might need to pause the recording to give yourself adequate time to really answer the questions that we're putting in front of you. But nevertheless, you could do it after the fact. You could do it as we're working our way through it. That's completely up to you. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on that link for just a second, just to show you what you're going to experience and emphasize a couple of things. Before you can complete the change grid, you need to give us your name. You do not need to give us a real name. Please be creative. I'm going to be Ferd Burfel. Over here, Ferd Burfel. And I do have to give a legitimate email address because the system is going to mail your email, your results to you. And so I don't care what your name is, phone number, you can put in anything you want. I just put in 98765000123, whatever you really want. It doesn't matter. No one's going to call you. Time zone, let's see. I think I'm going to go to Kathmandu today. None of this matters. No one's going to call you anything like that. You do need to accept the terms. The terms are very short. It simply says we do not collect data. We do not share data. We simply don't. It's not the purpose of this tool. Never has been, never will be. And then you can click on the change grid. When you click on the change grid, you're going to see a set of instructions about how to complete it. Do take some time to read that slowly and carefully so you know what's going on. And then you can actually get into answering the activities. And so I really just want to show you guys the activities so we can talk our way through what it is that we want to explore when it comes to the subject of building relationships that truly matter. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce one, and then you guys are certainly welcome to unmute and let us know what your thoughts are around it. So I think the place to begin when it comes to this subject of building relationships that truly matter is you need to be able to take inventory of the relationships that are happening in your life. So now there's lots of different relationships happening all the time. If I go to get my teeth cleaned, I do have a relationship with my dental hygienist, and I do have a relationship with the cashier I see at the grocery store all the time. Those aren't the relationships we really are looking at. We're looking at relationships where there is more of an ongoing opportunity to interact with somebody where you already perceive there is some value in that relationship, but it also involves relationships that haven't been formed yet. So maybe in that inventory is I need something. Like right now, I need to find a new primary care physician. And so I can start thinking about what I'm looking for in that kind of a relationship even before it begins. But bottom line, you have to be able to take inventory of the relationships in your life. That's going to involve you taking a moment to center yourself and then think about who are the 10, 12 most frequently encountered people in my life. and just kind of list them by name and give a little bit of thought to what those relationships are all about. All right. And so that's it. Can you take inventory of the relationships in your life? Any questions, thoughts about that particular activity?
Nope.
No, pretty good. All right. So next thing you do is you need to. Oh, I guess I might as well show you this. You were asked 4 questions. How big of an activity does this feel like it is? How do you rate your ability to do it? How challenging is it to do it? And how important is it? So when I think of how big of a task is it really to take inventory of the relationships that are going on in my life, I'm sorry, it's just not a lot that big of an activity. I should be able to do it, you know, off the top of my head. So it's not a big kind of thing. My ability to do it is, I'm hesitant to give myself a 12, but I'll give myself an 11 for being able to do it. The challenge of doing it, I mean, how tough can it possibly be? So I'll give myself maybe, I don't know, how about a 4? And how important is it? Well, I guess for the sake of this subject, it's important enough. So I'll give it a 10 for that. All right. So again, these are the questions you're asking yourself for each of these activities. Now, the second activity. It's great that you've taken inventory. Now, when you write down those names, can you then stop for a moment to rate each relationship as to the degree of satisfaction you're experiencing? Now, if you were a coaching client of ours and this was an issue for you or an area of development you wanted to focus on, we would say to you, well, we need to do activity number 2 for each of the relationships you've thought about for activity number 1. But at this point, I'm just looking for your general level of readiness to do this particular thing. So, can you go about establishing a rating for each of those relationships as to the degree of satisfaction you're experiencing? And so you basically do that. How big of a task is it to rate the relationship? It can't be all that big. I'll still give it a 4. My ability, I can certainly do that. Maybe I'll give it a 10. The challenge of doing it, that requires me to be a little bit thoughtful. Satisfaction. I'm going to have to think about times where a given relationship or relationships in general have satisfied me. I would say that in general, my relationships, I'm about a 10 when it comes to sorry, 10 when it comes to the ability. But the challenge of doing it, I it's you got to be thoughtful. There's steps in doing it. So I'm going to give myself a 9 around that. And the importance, obviously, I'm going to stick with the subject overall. Maybe I'll give that a 10 as well. Now, again, I'm not going to do this for all the activities, and these numbers don't matter to any of you that are on the call. I just want to kind of show you the thought process as you fill the thing out. So, do you guys think you could do activity number 2, rating each relationship as to the degree of satisfaction you're currently experiencing? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a challenge, but yeah, because
Yeah,
I
and
know.
you can certainly see that while we want to do it as a general kind of thing, you could kind of see like, well, different relationships have different value. And so
Mhm.
some I'm going to give more thought to than others. Some I can immediately just say, I'm satisfied, but I don't really care to delve into it in any greater level of detail. All right. All right. So now the next thing, once you know what these relationships are, and you know the degree to which you're currently satisfied with that relationship, you can sort those relationships into 3 main categories. And those 3 categories are: which of these relationships would you like to work on advancing, improving, expanding, whatever? Which ones of them is it time to curtail or contain, back away from? And which relationships are okay to continue just the way they are? And so I think assigning each of these relationships to one of those buckets could be a very useful exercise just in and of itself. Even if you don't do the rest of this, just thinking about those relationships and saying, I really do need to curtail the relationship with so and so. And it really would serve me well to advance the relationship with so and so. Get the idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but the verb here that we're looking at, the activity, is about sorting the things. And so when I think about sorting, again, it feels like a rather straightforward puzzle question I'm asking myself. My ability to do that, well, I'm going to give it maybe maybe a 9, maybe a 10. I'll give myself a 10. I feel good about myself today. The challenge of sorting those relationships, again, this requires that I be a bit thoughtful about it also. Maybe I'll give the challenge at least an 8. I don't want to be underestimating or overestimating the challenge. Maybe I'll give it about an 8 for doing that. And the importance, well, I'll give it a 10 because if I'm staying true to the subject we're covering, these things should be important enough to be getting my attention. Again, these numbers don't matter to you. Just walking through a process or demonstrating the process was all I cared about there. So let's look at the next one. Now, this one is assuming that you guys already have some exposure to the path of self-discovery, which means you have either participated in prior the explorations that we've done, or perhaps you are a member of our community at the explorer level or higher, in which case this has been covered in the training that you have had available to you. Hopefully you've taken advantage of the training you've had available to you. If you guys don't have any familiarity with walking the path of self-discovery, I shall take a moment to walk you through that path. And even if you haven't done deep training in the technique, I think that you'll be able to at least give some thought to each of these different steps of the path that we advise you to take. So walking the path involves 5 main steps for you to take. The first step is for you to look at the current situation. So when it comes to this particular relationship, the ones you think really matter, the ones you'd like to advance, maybe sometimes even the ones you want to continue would benefit from walking along the path. You just want to take a moment to say, what is the current relationship I have with this particular person? And just, think about, how often do I see them? What do we talk about? When was the last time we got together? What's this relationship really all about? So just do a little bit of thought around the question, what is the current situation with this particular relationship? The second step, once you know where you're at, is you want to go, well, how would I like this relationship to be different? How would I like it to expand, advance, improve? What kinds of things do I really want to focus on maintaining? What parts of this do I really want to do something of some value for myself at the very least, and everyone involved, ideally, as far as this relationship goes. So that's that desired situation kind of step. So now, if you think about that in a given relationship, you know where you're at, and you know where you'd like the relationship to be. That gets us to our next question. What's in the way? What's stopping you from already having that desired situation? As you think about that, hopefully you'll be able to identify one, if not several, obstacles that may be interfering with you moving from your current situation to your desired situation. So what's in the way of doing that? And without giving you suggestions that I just want you to take at face value, there may be issues about time, about accessibility. There may be issues about um, personalities, how the personalities might be getting along, or habits you've fallen into in a particular relationship. What's standing in the way of you having that desired outcome the way that you want it to be? Now, once you know what the obstacles are, you move on to the next step of the path, and that is thinking about how you go about addressing each of those obstacles. Because if you can get the obstacles out of the way, you should be able to reach your desired situation pretty easily. And so, how are you going to deal with each one of those obstacles? And when you've come up with whatever your solution strategy is, so that's all about developing solutions, you got to then ask yourself, how does this feel to me? Does this feel right? And we think of that as being more of an inward check about whatever it is you've done logically. So, does it feel right to you? What does your hunch tell you about this? What emotions are being awakened? If you're a betting person, would you place money on the outcome that you're predicting? So there's all this kind of unknown sorts of stuff, unknown variables, unknown answers to those variables that you need to take a little bit of a moment to think about. So again, the path is really very simple. It's a very I want to say portable kind of way for you to examine any decision that you need to make, any situation that you need to explore. So where are you at? Where are you trying to go? what's in the way, how do you get rid of those obstacles, and now what do you predict is going to happen? So again, current situation, desired situation, obstacles, solutions, and then feelings, hunches, intuition, all that interior kind of stuff. Thoughts about
Mhm.
my quick review of the path itself, anyone?
I like how this particular activity, its relationship, no pun intended, unto the others, like it helps you unpack these others activities on this list
Yep.
here.
Yep. And that's our goal. We try to list the activities in some sort of a practical order, or order in which we'd like you to follow them, maybe a procedural sort of a thing. And so you're absolutely right. And we want people to focus on that this is about relationships that matter. So as you are doing the desired situation, you want to be answering the question, what about this relationship really matters to me, or matters to me enough that I want to invest more in creating it, which gets to the number one, the number five, determining the value of investing further in that relationship.
Hmm.
So again, I want to check in with all you on the call. Can you hear yourself thinking about any kind of a relationship you've been in the past, and thinking about, I probably need to talk to so and so about such and such, and then you find yourself not talking to so and so about such and such, and you start to
Hmm.
wonder, why didn't I do that? Well, maybe you didn't really perceive value in doing the work that would be necessary to further that
Hmm.
relationship. So we have to
Right. And,
value.
and you know, sometimes you determine that the relationship is not going to be deeper, but you don't want to lose that person in which,
Right, right. In which case, they fall into that continue category. But even
yeah,
continuing it with some people takes work.
yes.
Yeah.
But
So
sometimes you weigh the pros and cons and they do. It is worth
they
it.
do.
But
Right. It's for whatever reasons, the relationship is going to continue. And maybe it's just fine just the way that it is. That might mean that it is meeting your needs. It might also mean that you're comfortable, what I want to say, comfortable, um, just, I'm trying to think of a polite word to say this, dealing with their nonsense, you know,
right.
just trying to put up with whatever it is because there is enough value in it to continue doing what needs to be done. Or you're in circumstances where you may have little, if any, choice. Maybe it's a family member,
There
maybe it's
you
a coworker, you
go.
know?
Oh, it's more co-worker, but more about, I think you can, well, without getting into my own thing, but the other thing that I have to do once I finish the assessment, once I really honestly make an assessment, I have to figure out how to hold back from trying to push for more. I just continually try to
Yeah.
figure out how to find that ceiling and stick with it and realize that's the best place. Because every time I try to, I lose my thought and I try to push harder than I hit the ceiling and it hurts.
Yeah, exactly. Which maybe get into activity number six here, and that's ensuring that your relationships are actually meeting your needs. So it may be that part of the reason why you have to push or feel compelled to push is because you feel that by pushing, the relationship will be more successful in meeting your needs.
Right.
That individual may or may not be capable of doing what is necessary to meet your needs inside of that relationship. But nevertheless, you got to make sure that your relationships are meeting your needs. Now, there's a flip side to this. And again, going into coaching mode for just a second, there are a lot of people out there who spend an inordinate amount of time, of their life for that matter, locked in one sided relationships.
Mm.
You're the one that's always giving and helping and supporting, but it doesn't ever seem to be reciprocated, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
individuals who will have a conversation with you, and their idea of making it equitable is starting off by saying, like, I want to hear what's going on in your life, but let me tell you about this first. And then they never give it around to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get the idea? It's
yeah. You feel drained after those kinds of conversations. I always look for that kind of, I call it an energy leak. Like you
Yeah.
feel like the air is just going out of the tire
That's
completely.
right. That's right. And you only have so much energy. And so I don't want activity number 6 for to be interpreted as me saying you just make sure that the relationship meets your needs and heck with everybody else. No, I'd like them to be mutual and equitable and balanced and all those kinds of good little words. But I know this for certain. It has to meet your needs. If it doesn't meet your needs, but it meets theirs, this is not a really, ideal relationship, even though sometimes we get stuck in some of those. Can we at least minimize them?
Yes, yes.
That's what the goal would be. Now, these next 6 activities I put on here were kind of like some of the action items that might have come up when you did your path walk on each of these relationships. When you get to the yellow, you might have heard yourself say some of these things. And so I want you to kind of think about the kind of activities that you will need to do in order to advance that relationship. That's all coming out of, well, it comes out of the identification of the obstacle, but really it's about the remedy to that obstacle. There's work to be done, and you got to know what that work is so you can figure out how ready you are to do it, etc. So these are some examples of very common things that I think you'll find will pop up across a broad spectrum of relationships you're trying to expand and grow. So like activity number 7, maintaining open, honest, candid, and empathetic communications. Now, these are a lot of qualifiers to what that communication is all about. I originally was just going to put down maintain beneficial communications, maintaining. I thought, no, I got to give some detail. So you want to be able in a relationship you have with someone that relationship is honest and it's open and you can be candid with one another and still have some empathy for what's going on. I don't want you to be brutal in your attempt to be open, honest, and candid. So can you be open, honest, candid, and just a wee bit sensitive to how the receiver is going to receive this information? So, but that I think is a very common thing that people who want relationships to grow need to put some energy into. So thoughts about that?
Nope.
It's kind of interesting. When I was doing my list, kept thinking, look who's not on there. Why is that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go back and think about this. So
Right.
taking inventory is a whole
Yeah,
new
well,
meaning
that's
for
it.
me.
One of the things I love about inventory exercises, when I can get clients to actually do it the way it's intended to do, is exactly what you've just said. Sometimes I'm more interested in who didn't make the inventory of relationships than those who are on the inventory. Why is that person not on there? What does that just say? In the brightest possibility, it says that the relationship is so etched in stone that it doesn't even require any thought whatsoever, which still gives me cause for pause as a coach to just say, maybe there'd be benefit in thinking a little bit more about those who did not make the list. So yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So yeah. So there you go. Maintaining open, honest, candid, and empathetic relationships. Or rather communications. Number 8, spending meaningful moments together. I was trying to come up with a way to say whether your contact with someone is by email, chat messages, Facebook, or whether you are reaching out to them and doing phone calls and FaceTime calls, or whether you're actually physically getting together with them. I don't really care so much about the mode of the interaction as much as I care that whatever interactions you're having with someone are meaningful. Now, meaningful gets to be interpreted in a wide variety of ways, but what I'm just saying is that spending a lot of time with somebody in and of itself does not necessarily meet either person's needs. It's having meaningful time together that you really are looking for. Right. So you're just not looking to hang out. Well, maybe you are just looking to hang out, in which case have at it. But if we're talking about, relationships that really matter, there is usually something that's going on. There's subjects to explore. There's issues to look at. But spending meaningful moments together in whatever form they take, I think, is central to to a relationship continuing and advancing. Thoughts about that?
That's why we're on this call.
Well, yeah, I would hope that's why someone clicked on the video or they're joining us in our work here. This is what it's really all about. And so even if I think about the calls that we do every week, I want to make sure that this is a meaningful moment for everyone who's on the call or everyone who's listening to the call, that somehow or another you're gaining greater levels of awareness and insight and understanding, and hopefully you get even more when you listen to the interpretation session after filling it all out. So make it meaningful.
Testify.
Testify. There you
I
go.
want to testify. Absolutely.
Great. All right.
That's funny.
Right. All right. Now, sometimes, maybe more often than any of us would like to admit, one of the developmental things we need to do if we want to continue a relationship in particular, but certainly if we expect a relationship to advance, is we need to let go of past grievances, embrace each other's flaws. You got to let go of the past, forgive and forget, whatever form that takes for you. This is something that you really have to go. Otherwise, you're just going to be experiencing that grievance and revisiting that grievance over and over again. And that's not supporting continuation or advancement in the relationship. If you can't let go and you can't embrace each other's flaws, or someone you would like to establish a greater relationship with can't let go of past grievances they have with you, or they can't embrace your flaws, then curtailing this relationship is where it's going to end up one way or another anyway, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So you might
Yeah.
as well go, if I know something I need to do, if I find, okay, we're going to go back to this, determining the value of investing further in a relationship. If I've determined there is sufficient value in doing this, then something I may very well need to get really good at is letting go of the past.
I'm pleading a fifth on that one.
Are you not? Well,
Sometimes a man's just got to stick to his
well,
beliefs.
you do, and maybe we can't let go of it altogether, but maybe we can stop using it as a filter through which we judge that individual, their future communications, their
And
future.
sometimes that's a wonderful little window into why you don't want to have a relationship with
Well,
that.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
if you find yourself unable to do this, your inability to do it is a message to you in and of itself. Again, this program is the oracle of the self. This is about
Amen, my
learning
friend.
how to listen to what's going on in your own head and stop ignoring what your truthful, authentic self is trying to tell you.
Yeah. It sounds reasonable. It's just not easy to do.
No.
And I remember always being told that, forgiveness is never about the other person as it is for you. And I just remember thinking, okay, I really don't get it.
Well, and
I hear you. I hear you.
I'm
truly
just being honest.
from a survival instinct, and that forgiving and forgetting are not necessarily good things to do.
Well,
Mhm.
no, they're not.
But
And
they're
you can
necessary.
give people second and third and fourth and fifth chances. And if they keep doing it, then you're the idiot in this
Well,
situation.
that's right. When the only
Mhm.
consistent factor in your unsatisfying relationships is you, then you gotta
Right, right.
do
Well,
Yeah.
you keep trying and you keep forgiving and that whole judgment, no judgment.
right.
GS,
Well,
man. You
and
you
so
make judgments every single day. Crossing
Right.
the street, getting into your car,
you
and
need to make them. Yeah.
eating that wilted vegetable in your
Right. Yeah.
or throwing in your refrigerator.
It
You have
doesn't
to make
smell
judgments.
really bad.
Yeah, it only smells sort of bad.
Yeah, so right. Yeah. But now
Good
think
thinking
about
with.
this. if we're having letting go, if this is a big problem area for somebody, if you're going to rate your challenges being extremely high around this, without giving away the interpretation, the advice part of it, maybe you need to revisit these earlier steps specific to that relationship. And maybe you find out that that relationship is not satisfying you sufficiently, that maybe it needs to, maybe it's still in continue, but it's continue leaning towards curtail. Maybe just maybe you are overestimating the value you get from investing further. You know what I'm saying? It's like maybe these first 8 activities, like they never want to spend any time with you, or you only get one word responses to your text messages. Maybe, just maybe, a message is coming your way that you need to embrace. So,
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's an observation that I just had, is that some of these might come quicker for me than others. Some I might have to spend a little bit more time on, like really
yeah.
filtering through. That's why I like activity number 4 a lot.
Well, and I think that activity number 4 is you can also walk the path on just yourself and say, what is it about me and relationships in general? Where am I at right now? What would I like to have in terms of my relationships with people? What's stopping me from having those things? And what am I
Hmm.
going to do to get those things? So the path is something that, like I said, it's really portable. You can walk the path anytime you want to learn something about yourself or someone else, or you need to make a decision about something. Spend a few moments walking along that path.
Hmm.
Okay, so letting go of past grievances. The next one, number 10, respecting each other's need for personal space and boundaries. How many of you have got relationships with people that while you find it valuable enough to continue, one of your concerns about advancing it anyway is that they're clinging enough as it is, they're demanding enough as it is,
Hmm.
it's just more than you're looking for, something like
Yes.
that. And
Well,
Hmm.
so,
it says respecting each other's
right.
needs. Yeah, so you got to you got to consider both yourself and the other person.
And when you're considering yourself,
Hey.
maybe you need to wonder, have I communicated to other people what my needs are, what my limitations may be, what's going to work for me and not work for me? That gets up here to the maintaining open, honest, candid, and empathetic communications with other people. So, I can't expect them to respect my boundaries if they don't know what my boundaries even are. And similarly, I can't respect theirs if I don't know what theirs are. So, yeah, we just want to make sure that we are aware of and doing our best to respect whatever other people's needs are for personal space and boundaries. And by the way, this plays itself out in very common ways in general relationships. So, for example, when we were living in North Carolina, um, it was not at all unusual for us to be up until 11 o'clock. And, we chat with people on the phone, 10 o'clock. It's not like it was too late. I know. Well, now that we're living in an over 55 community in Arizona, I promise you, you need to think twice before you call somebody after 8 o'clock. Maybe you'll send them a text message, but we
However, 6 a.m. calls and they're saying, boy, you're late getting up.
6 a.m. It's kind of like, well, exactly, sleeping
Time
in.
for lunch.
So again, we got to understand this and respect it so that you're never viewed as being problematic, and you don't have people in your life that are problematic, and you're the one who created the problem, you know what I mean? Because you didn't communicate to them. So I think that's a really important thing, so that the relationships don't become overwhelming, which was the last subject we talked about, overcoming overwhelm, which I'm
Whelming.
repeating purely to irritate people who don't believe that overwhelm is a noun. So
Whelming.
yeah.
Whelming.
Yeah, because you use it often, it'll get in the dictionary. So,
Yeah,
so I
right.
think it's important to do. It's important to do, activity number 10, because really, isn't what you want to do number 11? So activity 11 is encouraging and supporting each other's personal growth. I put personal growth there because the subject matter is constantly changing, right? If you're in a long-term relationship with a good friend or a family member or a colleague, maybe that personal growth takes the form of, I don't know, sometimes it's about their primary relationship. Sometimes it might be about kids. Maybe it's about career. Maybe it's about big financial decisions. I don't know what form this personal growth is taking, but should I, shouldn't I, whatever. The relationships are really about encouraging and supporting each other as we are living whatever our lives are, and hopefully, at least in some fashion, we're living them together because we do encourage and support each other in whatever that's going on, which gets us to the last one. And this is staying dedicated and faithful to each other through thick and thin.
Mm.
So it's easy, particularly in certain cultures, the US being one of them, it's very easy to make new acquaintances. It's very easy to have a whole collection of people that you think are friends. But as you start to raise your own standards about what makes a relationship one that matters, again, this is an inventory about building relationships that matter. Well, they matter because of all these good things we've been talking about, but really they matter because I can count on them. And this is something that I'm willing to do for this other person. They're willing to do for me. I can stay dedicated and faithful to each other through thick and thin. So this is about that durability in the relationship as well. Now, certainly we could have come up with another dozen activities that would fall into this subject matter. And for deeper dives into change works and how you might be handling these relationships, that list is certainly available to anyone who feels compelled to fill the thing out. But these 12, I think, are really giving us a good overview of how we're currently handling building relationships that really matter. Thoughts about what
I'm always impressed with these lists.
Well, I'm good. I'm glad, when I build one of these lists, I do my best to make sure that the list meets all the requirements. Those of you who are certified in the subject matter, there are good activities and not so good activities. And so I do try my best to apply what I teach and come up with activities that really are worth someone taking some time to look at and really understand. And so, again, I would encourage all of you guys, now that we've kind of walked our way through this activity list, to go ahead and click on that link and fill it out and really think about how big of a task does it feel like this particular thing happens to be. Like letting go of past grievances and embracing each other's flaws. Oh, Brian, why don't you give us your numbers? How big of
Probably like 11.
an 11 is the size?
11 in terms of the challenge.
Oh, wait,
The size. Okay, so we start with size. The
yeah.
size is probably, I would say, a 10.
All right, it's a
It's
big task for you to do. All right.
yeah, yeah.
How do you
It's a
rate your
big
ability
task.
to do it effectively? Yeah, letting go of.
Effectively is a key word there.
Isn't it?
Probably
Well, and I
8.
gave you, if you think about it, me adding a qualifier of effectively makes this even easier because the activity right there just says plain old let go. Just
Yeah, that's
do it. Let
that's
go.
why I'm emphasizing effectively.
All right.
Yes, I would say maybe 8.
An 8, all right. And how challenging is it? Did you give 11? Is that what I heard?
Yes, 11.
An 11. And how important is it?
That's a big one for me. So I would say that's probably 11 as well.
All right, all right, all right. And again,
Bravo, bravo.
there you go.
Well done.
It's great that you guys can certainly look at each of these activities with relationships in general, but know that if you really wanted to, you could answer each of these activities with a specific relationship in mind.
Mhm.
And answer the exact same questions, but instead of doing it now, again, you'd have to have access for your own change work system to do this, but you could say, building my relationship with Mary, building my relationship with Sally, building my relationship with Becky, building my relationship with, you could just do each line of the activity list is just a different person, but the activity fundamentally is the same. Now, why would that be valuable? Because not every relationship you would like to continue, curtail, or maintain is one that you view identical to every other one, right?
Right.
They have
Mm-hmm.
varying levels of importance. They have represent varying levels of challenge. Some people are a lot more work to deal with than others are. So that's going to change size. And, how often have you found yourself think or say aloud, I just don't know how to get through to this person. Well, now you're bringing your own ability into question because you've just said, I don't know how. So,
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're
you know,
ruling out the hammer, that's all.
yeah, well, it's good that you don't commit a crime. Although I'm not saying that wouldn't be
Sometimes.
effective. It could very well be effective, but not necessarily the
Not
greatest.
necessarily legal.
Yeah, well, if you're going to involve that sort of thing, then fine. But again, we'd like you guys to fill it out for next week's interpretation session with things more in general. But keep in mind that you can always use this activity list using your own ChangeWorks system to fill out whichever ones you'd like to on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This is
So
excellent.
when you're done with all this, you would click on Finish Change Grid. If I do that, it's going to give me an error because I haven't put in answers for everything else. But after you click on Finish the Change Grid, the system will give you a little thing that just says, okay, thank you so much for filling it all out. And within a matter of minutes, you should be receiving an email from the ChangeWorks system that says that your results are available for you to look at. Those that are listening to the recordings, you would then be able to go and listen immediately to the recording of the interpretation session because they'll both be uploaded at the same time to YouTube. But for those of you who are part of our community and participating in this live call, you're going to need to fill it out in the next call where you're going to be the subject as we walk our way through the results of this list. It'll be interesting to see which activities show themselves to be most problematic or the ones that are really your greatest strengths. But I think there's a lot to be learned from filling out the ChangeWorks profile again.
I'm wondering if I did the path before I actually did the profile itself, would that shift
Well,
something?
certainly those of you who have the skill set to do the path walk first may very well choose to just start off with the path. And how you would do that is you'd be thinking about the relationship you have with a particular person, and you're just in your head, you're going like, let's walk the path. And yeah, there's a form you can fill out and all that, but you should be able to do this in your head. So what's going on with this relationship right now? What's the current state of affairs in this relationship? And then you move on to what is it I'd like to have different in this relationship. So whatever those things happen to be, they happen to be. Now, those of you who have gone through your training already know that when we are asking for this goal kind of, desired outcome sort of step, we can take it to a deeper level of information and detail and say, what do I hope to gain in this relationship? What do I hope to lose as I improve this relationship? What do I not want to gain? What do I not want to lose? And so we fill out what's come to be called a 4-blocker so that we can look at what we are, what the real goal, what the full goal looks like when it comes to that relationship. Just filling out that quadrant tool is often enough insight for you to say, this isn't worth pursuing, or this is really valuable for me to go ahead and put more energy into, etc. And so you can certainly do that. And then when you get to the obstacles and the solutions, that's what you would want to put on your activity list for dealing with it, right? Because really, pardon me, this is wonderful as an exploration goes. But if you want to move from exploration to, I don't know, integration, implementation, put whatever shun in there you want, you're going to need to be looking more at getting rid of these obstacles, dealing with whatever these issues are that stand between where you are and where you would like to go as far as that relationship is concerned.
Interesting.
Again, the path of self-discovery is one of the techniques that we wanted you guys to view as being as portable gets. So you carry it with you, plug it into play. It's great to have pieces of paper to fill it out on. It's wonderful to be able to do that on screen, but really you should be able to do a quick walk along the path in your own head anytime and every time you are thinking about, a given situation and how you'd like to impact it. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Other questions?
No, this has really been good.
All right. So
I look forward to filling this out.
I'm so glad. I would very much encourage you guys to do it sooner rather than later. So all this discussion is fresh for you. And then next time we'll take a look at the results. So with that, any final comments?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Great day, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Great. Cheers.
Adios, muchachos.
Double donuts.
Double.